Hey, literary explorers, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're embarking on a journey down a river that doesn't just cut through a jungle, but cuts right to the center of the human soul. We're talking about one of the most powerful, complex, and controversial novels ever written, Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. Published in 1899, this short novel is far more than an adventure story. It's a searing, psychological investigation into European imperialism, the thin line between civilization and savagery, and the seductive power of madness. It's a book that forces us to look into the void, a narrative so dense with symbolism that entire university courses are built around its fewer than 100 pages. The story is a dark descent into the Congo Free State, a fictionalized but horrifyingly accurate portrayal of King Leopold II's brutal colonial enterprise. It asks a terrifying question. When you strip away all of society's rules and accountability, what truly remains of the civilized man? We're going to break down the nested narrative structure, follow the harrowing path of our protagonist, Marlowe, analyze the magnetic and terrifying figure of Mr. Kurtz, and dissect the core themes of hypocrisy, madness, and the dehumanization inherent in colonialism. But first, if you're a fan of classic literature, complex narratives, or stories that challenge your worldview, please take a moment to hit that like button right now. Drop a comment below and tell me, if you had to choose one symbol from this novel, the river, the fog, or the ivory, which one resonates most powerfully with you? And of course, subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our weekly deep dives into foundational literary works. We are introduced to a group of men, a lawyer, an accountant, and other middle-class English citizens. One of these men is Charlie Marlowe, a weathered philosophical sailor. This setting is symbolic. The Thames, a waterway that launched British colonial ventures all over the globe, connects this quiet, respectable English evening to the distant, savage events Marlowe is about to recount. Marlowe looks out at the sunset and remarks that London, too, was once one of the dark places of the earth. This comparison immediately undercuts the moral superiority of the Europeans. Marlowe takes over the narrative, becoming the primary storyteller for the rest of the book. He's not just relaying events, he's interpreting them, reflecting on them, and struggling to find words for the unspeakable things he witnessed. He often uses vague, highly symbolic language. He talks about the idea, the dream, and the heart of a fantastic darkness. This makes him a complex, often unreliable narrator, one who prioritizes the meaning of events, the psychological and moral truth, over a simple, linear factual account. Marlowe recounts his youthful ambition to explore the blank spaces on the map, specifically a river in Africa, which he describes as resembling a vast snake uncoiled. He secures a job as a steamboat captain for a European trading company, known only as the Company, in the Congo. This initial ambition, fueled by innocent curiosity, quickly descends into a grim confrontation with reality. Marlowe's journey truly begins at the outer station, the company's initial outpost on the coast of the Congo. The contrast between European ideals and colonial reality is immediate and jarring. This place is not a beacon of civilization. It's a scene of grotesque, bewildering inefficiency and cruelty. He sees rusting machinery, useless pieces of imported European garbage, and African laborers being worked to death. He famously describes stumbling upon a grove where these men are dying slowly of exhaustion, calling it the place of death. He notices their chains, their emaciated forms, and the profound indifference of their European overseers, who are too busy worrying about their own petty rivalries. Marlowe is struck by the hypocrisy of the colonial venture. The stated purpose is to civilize and uplift the savages and engage in commerce. The actual, visible purpose is rapacious extraction, the greedy pursuit of ivory. The Europeans he meets, the pilgrims, as he sarcastically calls them, are not noble pioneers. They are shiftless, obsessed with promotion, and driven by nothing but avarice. They wear their starched collars in a futile attempt to cling to the illusion of European decorum, appearing hollow at the core. It is here, amid the chaos and waste, that Marlowe first hears the name that will dominate his thoughts for the rest of the journey: Mr. Kurtz. Kurtz is spoken of in hushed, reverent tones, a prodigy, a first-class agent who sends back more ivory than all the other stations combined. He is described as a talented orator, a musician, a writer, and a man who embodies the European ideals of progress and genius. The station manager and other agents view him with a mixture of envy and fear, already recognizing that Kurtz operates outside their petty rules. For Marlowe, who is already utterly disillusioned by the incompetence and greed around him, Kurtz becomes a symbolic figure, a voice, an ideal, genuine European man. He is the reason Marlowe must push deeper into the jungle. Marlowe sees Kurtz as the potential embodiment of the idea of colonialism, the noble purpose that was supposedly motivating this entire enterprise. The bulk of the book is Marlowe's long, agonizing journey up the great winding river toward Kurtz's inner station. The river itself is a powerful metaphor. It is the artery that connects civilization to the heart of the wilderness, but also a journey into the primitive depths of the human psyche. As they proceed, the jungle becomes less navigable and more menacing. Marlowe feels an increasing sense of alienation from his European crew and a strange primal kinship with the African environment and his African crew. He describes feeling as if he is traveling back to the beginnings of time. When Marlowe finally arrives at the inner station, he finds a scene of intense, terrifying strangeness. The station is successful, piled high with ivory, but it is managed by a lone, gaunt figure and surrounded by evidence of ritualistic, absolute power. The first person he meets is the Russian-speaking Harlequin, a bizarre, devoted disciple. Marlowe soon sees the evidence of the utter breakdown of Kurtz's sanity. Human heads are mounted on fence posts around his compound, used as macabre decorations. Kurtz hasn't just gone native. He has regressed to a position of unchecked, absolute primitive authority. All the veneers of European civilization have been stripped away, revealing a soul consumed by unsatisfied, brutal desires. Marlowe discovers that Kurtz's infamous report on the suppression of savage customs initially contained beautiful, eloquent prose, but ended with a single, scrawled, horrifying postscript: "Exterminate all the brutes." This is the moment Marlowe realizes Kurtz has transcended mere greed. He has become a monster of pure philosophical megalomania. Marlowe's final confrontation with Kurtz is mediated by two powerful female figures, representing the split reality of the novel: the fierce, passionate African woman at the station, and the idealistic intended back in Europe. Marlowe rescues the severely ill Kurtz and begins the return journey downriver. Before he dies, Kurtz utters his famous final words: "The horror! The horror!" This phrase is the enigmatic core of the novel. Marlowe interprets it as Kurtz's moment of moral clarity, the realization of the terrible, savage truth of his own soul and the monstrous acts he committed. He achieves a terrifying self-knowledge. The final section is Marlowe's return to Europe and his encounter with the grieving intended. She is still clinging desperately to the idealized vision of Kurtz as a great man of progress and high moral purpose. When she asks Marlowe about Kurtz's last words, Marlowe cannot bring himself to tell her the brutal truth: the horror! The horror! Instead, he tells her Kurtz's last word was her name. Marlowe tells this lie because he realizes that the intended and the civilization she represents needs the lie to survive. The full, savage truth of the Congo, that their civilizing mission is a moral abyss, would destroy the idealistic facade of European society. Marlowe concludes that darkness is not only in the jungle, but in the protected, hypocritical heart of Europe itself, and that sometimes a lie is necessary to maintain order. Heart of Darkness is a masterpiece of psychological realism and literary symbolism. It is a challenging but essential read that remains deeply relevant today, forcing us to examine the legacies of colonialism, the dangers of unchecked power, and the darkness that resides in us all. Conrad's work isn't just about Africa, it's about the moral landscape of humanity when stripped of all its constraints. It is a chilling exploration of what happens when greed and a lack of accountability create the ultimate moral void. If this summary sparked your curiosity, I urge you to pick up Heart of Darkness. It's a short but mighty book that will change the way you look at history and human nature. Hit that like button if you appreciate books that tackle profound moral and historical questions. Comment below and let me know. Do you agree with Marlowe's final decision to lie to the intended? Or do you think he should have told her the terrible truth? Was the lie a necessary protection, or a final act of moral corruption? And if you want more deep dives into complex, classic, and foundational literature, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell. We explore powerful stories every week. Thanks for joining me on this harrowing journey. We'll see you in the next